even though like we're in a time that's scary and sad and people are grieving both illness and also death and also just the loss of a lot of really special experiences, it's still helpful to find things that bring us some happiness and laughter. And so I think that if we can find those times with our family, it's really good. Hello and welcome to the Sunshine Parenting Podcast, where each week we talk about ideas for raising kids who become thriving adults. I'm your host, Audrey Monkey. Here on the podcast, I share my experiences raising 5 kids who currently range in age from 16 to 26 and working with thousands more as a summer camp director over the past 3 decades. I'm the author of Happy Campers, and I frequently do workshops with parents, teachers, and summer camp professionals about social skills, connection, and happiness, topics I researched extensively for my master's in psychology. If you want tools for raising kind, optimistic, self-reliant kids who become thriving adults, you've come to the right place. Hello, Sunshine Parenting listeners, and welcome to episode 133. Like many of you, my family is a little over a week into our time of social distancing and sheltering in place here at our home in Clovis, California. With me here at home are my husband, Steve, my youngest son, Owen, who's 16 and a sophomore in high school, my son, John, who's a freshman in college, and my daughter, Gretchen, who's 26 years old and in her 3rd year of teaching high school English. My 2 other daughters, Charlotte and Meredith, are doing their remote school and remote work where they live in Boulder, Colorado, and Washington, D.C. So my family is sheltering in place, but not all in the same place. Although I have some amazing interviews already recorded and lined up for the podcast, I decided that this week it would be more appropriate and possibly helpful to share some of the things that I am finding are working and things that are not working for me during this new normal for our family, all being here together at home, doing work, school, and life together without a lot of connection and contact with outside people. The news and the rules seem to be changing rapidly, and it's really hard to keep up with what has changed from week to week. So I want to make sure that I note that I am recording this on Tuesday, March 24th for release this Friday, March 27th. I think this is a good time for us all to keep track of what is going on with ourselves and our families, since it's a historic time that hopefully will be over soon, but nonetheless is something very unique and something that none of us have ever been through before. So I'm considering this week's podcast episode kind of my digital journal, just to review what is working right now for me and what is not working. And my hope is that something that you hear will spur you on either to encourage you that it's okay how you're feeling and what you're doing, or maybe give you an idea of something that you can try to just improve your own well-being or the connection in your family a bit more during this time. I'm going to share with you 3 things that are not working for me and 9 things that are working for me during this COVID-19 shelter in place. Okay, I'm going to start with some things that are not working for me right now. The first thing is focusing. I am finding that I am very easily distracted and really having trouble focusing on anything that requires any consistent brain power. For example, when I'm reading something, I often need to go back and reread the paragraph I just read because the words didn't register. So I think that I share the feeling with many of you that just feeling this kind of distraction and sort of a little bit of underlying anxiety all the time that makes it harder to focus. Another thing that's not working for me is planning ahead. Whenever the conversation or my thoughts turn to what's going to be happening in a week or a month or 3 months, I always come back to the conclusion that none of us really knows, and it's not super productive to dwell too much beyond today or maybe just the next few days. Finally, another thing that is not working for me is my overly ambitious to-do list. So I really love lists and I love checking things off, and it's something that I pride myself on being productive and getting things done. But despite there seeming to be this extra time with no more commute to work, no more dropping kids off or picking them up and appointments, and since my kids are not in elementary school and they're pretty self-sufficient with their schoolwork, I don't need to be helping them with their school at all. You would think that I would have all this extra time. It seems like it each day, but the days seem to drift by in kind of a partial fog, and I'm not getting a whole lot of tasks checked off my to-do list. So focusing, planning ahead, and overly ambitious to-do lists are not working for me right now. But here are some things that really are working for me right now and might also be some good suggestions for you. One of the things that's really working for me, and probably the main reason why I'm not getting a lot of other stuff done, is lots of connection virtually with others. So I've had lots of Zoom meetings, FaceTime calls, and texts, much more than normal. In fact, I found myself last week on a FaceTime call with a good friend who lives in Spain, and we hadn't talked in a really long time. So I've actually had some reconnection with old friends who I haven't talked to in a long time. One of my favorite connections is a daily Google Hangout that I do with my work team each morning at 9 a.m. It's a great way for us to just start the day, share what each other are working on, and just kind of catch up with one another before we all start doing our work remotely in our homes. Something else that we haven't used much before but are using a lot now is a group text with the same work team. And that has been more for humorous things and just kind of sending each other more personal updates about what's going on with our kids at home. So that's been another fun way to just feel like we're still connected and staying close with one another, even though we're not all working in the same office anymore. FaceTime or video calls have also been really important with family members. So my daughter, who's 24 and all the way over in Washington, D.C., joined us for dinner one evening. She happened to call in and we were sitting down, so we just set up the phone and she joined us for the conversation for dinner time. And it's really amazing to be able to have this technology that lets us see each other, and, while it's of course not as good as being face-to-face in person, it's still more fun than just a regular phone call to be able to see the person we're talking to and see their facial expressions. I've also really appreciated the video calls with my parents and my in-laws, who we've kept in more frequent digital contact now that we're all in our own homes and not able to see each other face-to-face. One highlight of the past week was being invited to a virtual dinner party by a friend. He set up a Zoom meeting and invited us all to it. And so we had 4 couples all gathered and just online and chatting. And this was on Saturday evening. It was something to look forward to. And it was a great way to just catch up with people and see what's going on. And we even got to talk to one couple who's up in Oregon, so not even in our same state. So it was actually a dinner party that included people who would not be able to go to a live dinner party, even if it was in our hometown. Finally, I have had several interviews this week on Facebook Live with some really encouraging, fun people. And that's been really, really great for me to connect with some camp directors and teachers and different people and just help them share their ideas with others, because I'm really fortunate to know some phenomenal people with great ideas, and it's fun to get to connect with them even more during this time and kind of curate and share more encouragement and advice out into the world. So the first thing that's really been working for me is just really increasing my digital connections with people outside in the world. The second thing that has been really helpful is really sticking to a pretty consistent morning routine. During the early days of this crisis, I found myself really just spending a lot of time scrolling news and trying to keep up with all the things that were changing and going on and figuring out how to get kids picked up from school and all of that. But I realized pretty early on that this was not serving me well, just being so flooded all the time with news. So I started limiting how much news I was taking in and got back into the routine that I had set up towards the end of 2019 that had really been working well for me. I had read a book called The Miracle Morning, and it just suggests sort of these things to do every morning. And I don't follow it exactly, but I have started following a pretty good routine that's been working for me. And what I do is I get up, I get my coffee, and I do some quiet time, some reading, some journaling. And then I immediately go and do my exercise right after that. And that can just be a walk or a little run, or we have a Peloton, which, oh my gosh, this is not an ad for Peloton, but we were hesitant to get it. We just didn't know if we would actually use it. And boy, was this the year to get it, because it's been really great for pretty much everyone in the family who's using it. You can have all these different logins. So that's been really good. But anyway, after my exercise, I shower and get dressed to kind of start my day. And what has been helpful about this is in the past, when I didn't follow this routine, I could find myself often just either being in my workout clothes, but checking email and then getting started on work things and then never exercising the whole day, and also never taking my shower. So getting up and following this routine has just helped me kind of just get my day off to a good start. So even though I'm just working at home and I could stay in my pajamas, which I know is nice, and I do that sometimes on the weekend, I've really been finding that sticking with my routine is really helpful and kind of just makes me feel a little more normal doing that. The other thing, and this is going to sound crazy, but I normally, as of late, have not been making my bed, but I started making my bed last week because it's something I can kind of check off my daily routine. And even if I get nothing else done, at least I've done that. So I think it's just sort of this idea of there's so much that we can't control right now. So if we can feel a little more control over our own daily routine or daily activities, I just think it gives just like a little bit of a sense of security. So I'm really enjoying just being pretty consistent with my morning routine, and that's something that's working for me. Another thing that's working for me is just keeping up with my normal planner that I use. I use a written planner. So I have a Google Calendar where I keep track of upcoming things, but each week I transfer it onto my written planner, which I also use to figure out my priorities for the day. And it's good to just be using my normal scheduling thing, even though my schedule is not as it normally is. So using my same written planner has been something that's been helpful to me. Another thing that is a little crazy, but is working for me right now is just doing a little bit of flexible working. Like I work in different locations in my house, so I kind of move around for different things. And for whatever reason, it just kind of is nice to be doing things in different locations. This has also entailed moving some furniture, which sounds a little crazy, but it's kind of fun to just if you're going to be in the same place for a long time, to just make it a little different by moving things around. And I think I got this idea. My husband said he listened to someone who had been in quarantine in Hong Kong for a couple of months. And it was one of the things that she did was they would move the furniture in their house every so often just to make the house feel different. So I don't know if there's something about when you're in one place, just making it feel a little different is kind of shakes things up and is kind of fun, but it's working for me. So another thing that's working for me, and I know that this cannot work for everybody right now, although I'm hoping that with spring weather coming in most places, you can get outside too. But where I live, we've had some rainy weather this week and it's been a little cooler, but we've also had some sunny days, and it's been really nice to get outside and just go for a walk or just sit outside. I took my lunch outside on the backyard yesterday just to be outside and just feel the sunshine on me for a little while. Going outside, we know, has a lot of benefits for our health and also just for our mental well-being. So I'm finding that going outside or even just opening the window is really helpful and is something that's working for me. So I've shared with several people over the past couple weeks that what my recommendation is during this time when kind of everything is different is, instead of having really lofty plans for all these new routines and new habits and new family time, instead just picking one personal routine that you're going to do for your own well-being. And so for me, that's my morning routine. And then one family connection each day. And so for many of us, it's convenient for that to be a meal. So for my family, we're having dinner together every evening. And at dinner, we're doing what we've always done when we're together, which is sharing our highs and lows of the day. And yes, we are all in the same house, but we're kind of all doing our own thing throughout the day. Sometimes we end up with one other person for a meal or something else, but really it's dinner time when we're all gathered together. So it's been nice just to get together and be together during that time and share what's going on. And my younger son, his low has been the same every day so far, and it has been that he misses his friends. So that's just kind of part of our routine now, is to hear his low, which is missing his friends. We've also, as a family, we brainstormed a list of things that seem like they would be fun for us to do. And I got input from everybody and just kind of jotted down this list of possible activity ideas to do during this time that we're together. And some of the things that came up from different people were playing board games, especially strategic games like Settlers of Catan. And there's another one, Stratego, that people like. Card games, we especially like spades and hearts. And once in the past week, we played the card game golf. My husband wants to do either a nature walk or work on building a trail. We live out in the foothills, so we have some space where we can work on, do some trail management to try to put a nice trail in for hiking or walking. We've talked about some baking, maybe baking bread, making some homemade butter. I've been wanting to order some wax and make candles because I have a lot of empty candle holders that we could just refill if I get some wicks and wax. We talked about movies that we're interested in seeing, perhaps like watching some of the Academy Award winners that we haven't seen before. Another idea was picking a specific actor and watching all the movies with that actor in them. We are planning to do a puzzle competition with another family. So we'll each have the same puzzle and start it at the same time and either send periodic text updates with photos or just keep a live stream going with one of our laptops so that you can see the status of their puzzle versus ours. So we haven't come up with our rules yet, but that's one idea that we had. So this was just from one dinner brainstorm of activities. And So now we have this list and can start working away at them. We have not done many of them yet. We've played a card game once, and we watched the movie Onward together this week, which is the new Pixar movie that's been released early to home viewing, and that was really good. So we enjoyed that. So some family time and connection every day has been something that's been really working for us. Another thing that has been working is figuring out or finding things to laugh about. Just yesterday, I couldn't stop laughing after my first attempt at sewing a mask, a face mask to go, it's for medical people. It goes over the N95 mask and is out of fabric. And I downloaded the pattern and I had some fabric, and I spent about an hour working on this mask. And when I turned it right side out, the straps were on the inside. So my daughter and I could not stop laughing about my failed first attempt, but I will be back at it. But perhaps it's not my best way to contribute right now, but we'll see. Another thing, someone had shared on Facebook some autocorrect fails in texts that really had me laughing this morning. So anything that we can laugh at, I think, is really helpful right now. Even though we're in a time that's scary and sad, and people are grieving both illness and also death, and also just the loss of a lot of really special experiences, it's still helpful to find things that bring us some happiness and laughter. And so I think that if we can find those times with our family, it's really good. So I know with my kids, they're sometimes looking at funny memes or YouTube videos or different things, but I do think that laughing is an important thing. So even comedy movies and things are good. Finally, something that's working for me is reading. Reading has always been a really relaxing and kind of rejuvenating experience for me. And I find it a lot better than scrolling on social media, which I do a lot of. So I decided to start kind of a long book. We'll see how it goes, but I started Jane Eyre this week. And so, knowing that I have more time at home, I'm going to try to read a long book right now and just take my time and read a little bit every day. So those were some of the things that are working for me right now. And I hope that something that I shared kind of spurs you on to think about something that either you're already doing and just recognizing that it's working for you. Even just taking a little time to just assess what is working for you and your family right now and what is not is a great practice. We don't know how long we're going to be in this situation, but it could be a while. So it's worth taking some time to reflect and adjust as needed to figure out what things are working or what things we can do to feel a little better and make family life a little bit better during these times. I hope you enjoyed this episode and something that I shared was helpful for you. I would love to hear from you about what's working for you and what's not working for you. You can send me an email at audrey@sunshine-parenting.com, or you can also use the voice recorder on my website to send me a voice message. And that is just available on my website at sunshine-parenting.com. I also encourage you to visit my website if you're interested in more resources and recordings. I'm including links in the show notes for this episode to an interview that I recorded with the Happier in Hollywood hosts, Liz and Sarah, last week on positive parenting during COVID-19. And I'm also including the videos for the different interviews that I've done this week with various teachers, camp directors, and other youth development professionals sharing their ideas and suggestions during this time of having your kids at home. Please let me know if there are any resources that you find that are helpful or any challenges that you're having that you'd like to see me address here at Sunshine Parenting. I would like to be a source of encouragement for you during this time. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd really appreciate you sharing it with a friend. Please take a moment to give Sunshine Parenting a rating or review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Let's end with a quote from my book, Happy Campers. Kids thrive with structure for the same reason most adults do. When we know what to expect, we feel less stressed and more relaxed. The unknown causes stress, and there are many unknown things in life for which we cannot prepare. While the process of setting up structure, rules, and routines in your family might stress you out if you are a parent with a more free-flowing personality, know that you are taking an important step for your children's well-being by bringing calm and predictability to your family's daily life. If our kids can depend on some predictability and structure in that very important place called home, we provide them a safe, calm buffer against a chaotic world. I'm Audrey Monkey. Thank you for joining me for the Sunshine Parenting Podcast. Join me again next week for more conversations about raising kids who become thriving adults.